Are you ready? Can Crushers. It don't really get no better than this the podcast that you're looking for if you're really heavy into wrestling. Hosted by the Mark. Energy that's so amazing. Gotta keep it entertaining. Rep the Can Crusher Nation. Yeah, you know what's going down in the ring. Lights out when you hit a ding ding. Knock 'em out like boom bada bing. Hold it down, you can crown me the king. Got a shout out to the Miz and Duke the Dumpster. We choke slamming everybody. Power driving, hit 'em with a face buster. Yeah, this the show you need and it ain't no need for waiting. Mark, hold it down for the Can Crusher Nation. All about wrestling and keep it entertaining. Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast. Time to break 'em, let's go. Yeah. Can Crushers. Yeah. Can Crushers. Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to another Can Crushers Wrestling Spotlight. And I thought, man oh man, SummerSlam is right around the corner. What can I do for the Spotlight show to have it be a special Spotlight show? By the way, I'm the host, Mark Martinez. I don't know if I said that or not. Yeah, I'm just super excited because I have somebody that was on SummerSlam last year. It is Ringside Raine Cruz. Yes, the girl that won the TikTok, or I believe most of it was on TikTok, to do the entrance and the announcing in the ring, contacted her, and she is super excited to be on the show. So I can't wait to hear about that experience and find out what else she does in wrestling. She also does some announcing and stuff. I believe it's in California. I don't know. Again, you guys know that I don't deep dive into people anymore because I like hearing the story essentially right from them, and you get the real oohs and ahs from me. So, yeah, I know more and more about Raine, but as we always say on the podcast, we'll get to that. So I'm super excited to have Raine on here in a few minutes, but I got to tell you a few things. Collar and elbow. Guys, if you haven't seen the new yellow collar and elbow shirt, it's amazing. Make sure you go check them out at collarandelbowwrestling.com. And when you're checking out, use the promo code CANCRUSHERS. All one word, capital C and Can, capital C and Crushers. You'll save 10% on that as well. Super awesome shirt from Al Snow and the Hooligans at Collar and Elbow Wrestling. Don't forget to check us out everywhere podcasts are found. iHeart and Stitcher and Spotify and Google Play and iTunes, and the list can go on and on and on. You guys know it. So if you don't know it, welcome aboard. Welcome to Can Crushers. This is the Can Crusher show. It's all over the place, and sometimes it ends up being good. Secondly, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All of our socials have at CanCrusher69 in them. Send us an email if you would like to be a guest on the show. If you know somebody that you want to hear from, we can reach out to them as well, and we'll get them on the show. Yeah, and all of that cool stuff. It's cancrusher69@gmail.com. Super excited to have Raine on. I can't talk anymore. I got to save it for Raine. So here comes Al Snow to tell you more about Collar and Elbow.
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. The wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. Two entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
And welcome back to Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast. Guys, I told you how excited I was to talk to my guest this week. Again, there's no him-hawing around. We need to get right to it. She is the WWE Announcer Contest winner for 2021. I'm going to be 2022's, I think. I don't know, but let's wrap back around to Raine Cruz. Welcome to Can Crushers, Raine. How are you doing?
I am doing good. Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
I'm doing great, actually, because I'm speaking to you, and I'm going to throw both of us under the bus right off the bat. As soon as you won this, I reached out to you. And then Instagram. Not either of us' problem. Instagram just sent me to, a hole somewhere else.
Yep.
And we finally got in contact, and we've been working this out for a couple weeks. But as I did the intro, Raine, I told you a little bit before, I thought, this is really cool because SummerSlam is legit like right around the corner. So I'm getting you a year after to find out what you did after this amazing moment. So it works. Sometimes, you know that saying, you fall in poop and you come out smelling like roses? I think we both just did that.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's midday out there for you. I know some of your fans are going to be listening to this, and if you're not a fan of Raine, get out of the hole that you're in. She does great stuff, but had a little touch of sickness. How are you feeling, really?
Health-wise, I feel a lot better. I was supposed to go to Money in the Bank, but I had to cancel that trip.
No.
I was so excited. I had some Ringside Raine shirts made too for the event, and I had to cancel the trip because I got COVID, and I was at home just watching it. I was very glad that I didn't fall asleep watching it, because I was sick. But I feel a lot better now. Did the whole isolation period and tested negative, so I'm back to 100%.
Good. I went through it very early into COVID. I completely understand. I don't want to say it's the worst thing ever, but for the 2 weeks, it was the worst thing ever. Oh my gosh. So, enough of that. Let's talk about, before we get to the rewind, last year's SummerSlam and how the whole contest and everything came about. What made you first and foremost say, I'm going to do this?
I think the night before I found out that there was this WWE announcer contest, I was actually kind of like pondering about, my role in the wrestling world, because I started doing indie shows last year, February of last year, and I was doing backstage interviews, and I stumbled upon ring announcing by accident, and I was like, okay, well, I don't really know if someone's going to notice me. Is this really meant for me and all that? And then next thing I know, my friend sends me a message about the WWE announcer contest. And I was like, you know what? I'll give this a shot. I'll create a TikTok account, upload my videos and see where it goes. I felt like if at least I could get comments, from people telling me, okay, you sound good and all that, at least to me, that's kind of like, okay, well, I guess, I'm in the right path, whether I win this or not. But, I ended up winning. So I was like, okay, well, I guess, I kind of am on the right path in some sense, or at least I'm on the right spot, being in the wrestling world. So, it was more of like a challenge for myself. Like, can I really step up to the challenge of, being in that ring and, doing what I love to do.
So trial by fire, essentially. It was just like, go. Shoot your shot or you're done, right?
Yeah, because to me, it's like, okay, I knew this is my goal. Like, I want to be, in the wrestling ring. Like, I want to be in a WWE and perform. And, I love wrestling. And to me, I was searching for my role in the wrestling world. I knew for a fact I can't wrestle. So I was like, okay, what else can I do? And to me, when this contest came up in my head, it's like, okay, if WWE is the goal, right? If WWE is the dream, I need to win this contest. So that way I know for sure, number one, I can really handle being inside that ring. And then number two, it's going to be a test for me to know is this something that you really want to do? Because I feel like, it's always easy to kind of like think, okay, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do until you get there. Right. And then you realize, oh God.
Yep. I'm here. Now what? Yeah.
So yeah, that was a good test for me because like after that experience, I knew to myself, you know what, I want to do this over and over again. I want to get back to that spot again.
So you created your own the TikTok just for this, essentially. And I'm telling you, Raine, when I saw you, and I saw everyone, because they said just pick one, John Cena or Edge or I don't even remember them all, but they were just Raine. My whole TikTok news feed or whatever the heck you call it was just filled with you, and I was enamored. I'm like, holy moly. One, she is crushing all of them. And if WWE doesn't pick her, this is fixed. Because you had, and I'm going to bring it back around with some other ring announcers and everything down the line, but you were pegging some of them, and I'm like, wow, that sounds exactly like that announcer. That sounds like this announcer. I'm like, yeah, she's got to win. Is this... I almost thought for a second, Raine, now get ready. This isn't backhanded, but you can yell at me. I'm like, does she already work for them? And this is just a way to get her in because she's that damn good?
You know, I had a comment after I won the contest. It was on one of my videos that said, of course, they pick like a corporate BITCH.
Oh, you can say it. I didn't want to, yeah, I wasn't going to call you a bitch first, but if you want to say words, go ahead.
But yeah, I was like, no, I don't work for them. God, I wish I do, but I don't.
Yet. Keep putting that yet at the end, right?
Yeah, there you go. I don't yet. I don't have that contract yet. So that's the thing. It's like, and then I got some comments that, oh my God, she's already an announcer, so it's kind of unfair that she won. But, I didn't start doing this until just last year. Like I accidentally stumbled upon ring announcing at one of my second indie event, actually. We drove 4 hours to Yuma, Arizona. I live in California, so we drove to Arizona, and I remember like an hour before the event started, I asked the promoter, so who am I going to interview? And he's like, oh, we canceled your spot. And then I was like, well, we drove 4 hours to get here. Anything else I can do? And then he's like, why? Well, we don't have a ring announcer. And I said, well, I can just give it a shot. And so this just happened by accident. And SummerSlam was my 7th event as a ring announcer.
Oh my God. See, that's the stories I told you. I told you I don't do digging or anything. That's the stuff that I love hearing. Like you were just going to the show to do essentially like a podcast interview, just something backstage, just a correspondent, just something that, and I don't mean it mean, that might have been thrown away. And then you become a ring announcer there for that show. And 6 more later, here you go. You're on the biggest stage in the summer at SummerSlam.
Yeah, so it's like really crazy because I went from, okay, I never thought I could ring announce, and I tried it, and looking back at my tapes before, I was like, oh God, I did this. I thought I sounded horrible. And then I felt like, to me, I took it as a challenge wherein, I listened to myself, and then it'd be like, okay, the next time I do this, the next time I announce this person, I'll do it this way. And then I got to SummerSlam, and then I was like, you know what? Mike Rome actually told me, he's like, because I remember asking him, so how do you want me to do this? And he's like, this is you. This is your style. And he's like, just be you. And I was like, okay, this is amazing. I can be myself and do this, on my own. And, but yeah, it's crazy as to how some people thought that, I was already an established announcer before SummerSlam. Like I said, SummerSlam was my 7th event as a ring announcer. In total, as far as wrestling events, SummerSlam was my 11th, with the combination of ring announcer and like backstage, like reporting stuff. But yeah, I went from, I think the week before SummerSlam, I did like a back-to-back indie show. And I think we had like 25 to 50 people.
Right.
Maybe less than 50.
I've been there. Yeah.
And then like the week after, and I remember the guys were like, did they call you yet? They call you yet? And I said, no, I don't think I won because, it's, we're a week away from SummerSlam. I haven't heard anything, la, 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 la. And then they're like, well, you'll never know. They might call you last minute, which, that's what happened.
That was my next question. Like, how much time did you have to get to SummerSlam? Clearly, they flew you. I don't need to know all the details, but you were flown and they took care of all of that. They just said, be at the airport, get your rear end here, right?
Yeah. So basically I found out Wednesday night, the week of SummerSlam.
Wow.
And
did you have plans? Sorry to cut you off. Did you have plans of like SummerSlam party at your house or anything? And then you just had to tell all your friends, you can't come over now because I'm going to be there.
No, I was actually supposed to work on that day. On Saturday, and I remember trying to get the time off, and my boss at that time was like, it's weird that you're just requesting for this time off. And I said, look, like I really need this day off, and I'm not going to be at work. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's SummerSlam, dude. Come on.
But the thing is, I couldn't say it. I couldn't tell them what's going on. Like none of my family members knew. No one knew. It's just myself and my husband because he was going with me. But I didn't tell anyone. And I had friends who were at SummerSlam, and I just remember telling them, hey, just make sure you're at your seat around this time so my husband and I can find you. And then they were freaked out, not freaked out, but they were like shocked when
you come rolling up in the ring.
Yeah. Because no one knew. I was messaging my wrestling group and asking them, hey, who's going to be at SummerSlam, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, no, we're just going to watch it at home. Or some people were like, oh, we'll be there. And I was like, all right, okay, I'll find you guys in your seats. And I was supposed to work that day. And I just remember, just trying to get the day off. And I was like, I cannot really work that day. I'm so sorry. Because they flew me into Vegas Friday night.
Okay.
And it was quite an experience because they flew us out to Vegas, to pay for the flight. And then when we got to Vegas, they had a car service for us. And then they got us a hotel. And then the next morning, they got us another car service. They picked us up at 8:45 in the morning.
Wrestling days are long. You should know that. Wrestling days are long.
And honestly, I didn't mind, even though I was really tired, because to me, it gave me time to kind of settle in and be comfortable. So it was really nice that I had that time to just kind of like know the people and kind of, I had the chance to rehearse once. I thought we were going to do it again, but it was just like a one-time rehearsal. So I was like, okay. But I think it helped me too, because I didn't overthink it.
Right.
Because like normally when I go to my shows, it's like, usually you have the card going into the show, but then you get there and then, some of the guys don't show up. So it's like, oh, now so-and-so is wrestling whoever shows up. So now it's different, right? So I just was kind of, thinking, okay, there's going to be last minute changes and I just have to roll with it.
Yeah, that's usually the best way to go. I've ring announced, I think it's 3 shows around our area. And let me say, I'm not you. And 2, overall, I don't like it. I'm gonna be that guy, because at indie shows, what's going on. Like know that you have to know what's going on. I still like being the Mark or somebody on commentating. Burning the DVDs and being that for the indie show. That I don't know what's going on. I'm just being Tony Schiavone or JR or Michael Cole or somebody like that, just regurgitating stuff back to you. That's what I like. The ring announcer thing, I was like, oh man, this is ruining it a little bit for me. And my mom, aptly named me Mark. This is the love of my life. This is everything. I love professional wrestling. Once it's in your blood, it's in your blood, isn't it, Raine?
Yeah. Like, honestly, there was a period that I stopped watching wrestling because, like, life was just, going too well for me at that point.
We all do, yeah.
And it's like, I was like, oh man, I remember those times when, I watched wrestling and all that. And I slowly found my way back into wrestling, which I am really glad because I love it. I love how, even though people say it's fake, even though
I
it
hate
is
those people.
The thing is, it's like, you go watch a movie, right? It's also a storyline if you think about it.
A soap opera, a TV show. Yeah.
Yeah, but the beauty about wrestling is that it's live. Like, if there is something wrong during that spot, they will have to improvise and make it work. So you, the crowd, the fans, won't think that something is wrong. Whereas you go watch a movie, you go watch a soap opera or any TV show, that one is pre-produced. Wrestling, you go to a live show, what they do right there and then is what we see.
Plus, it's also interactive. Essentially, a lot of people, a lot of wrestlers, commentators, whatever, they interact with you. I've never had, Jennifer Aniston or Will Smith or anybody say, "Hey, Mark, you stink." They've never called me out. I've had wrestlers around the Pittsburgh area throw stuff at me because I'm that guy. That's the experience of wrestling.
And it's amazing. I love it. I love the energy, right? Yeah. So I feel like every time I go to a show, as a fan or, as a ring announcer or as a reporter, it's always an experience for me. And I love it. I love it.
Did you get to pick the match, or did they just say, "This is the one you're doing, don't ask any questions"?
It's basically when I got there, they show me like, this not a script, but like they show me like a little text message of like what I'm supposed to be announcing. And I didn't get to pick. It was basically, the pre-show, Big E versus Baron Corbin with all the details in it. And I actually thought there would be 2 winners. So I remember asking them, "Oh, okay, cool. So where's the other person?" And they're like, "What other person?" And I was like, I thought there'd be 2 winners. And they're like, "No, it's just you." And I was like, "Oh." And then they're like, "Are you more nervous now?" And I was like, "No, I am very flattered that you guys actually picked me. And then now I'm doing this by myself."
Yeah. So did you think you were gonna have an announce off beforehand to see them make it to the main card or something? Whoever does good in the pre-show makes it to the main card. No, I'm kidding.
No, it was just basically that the pre-show, and then because they told me, okay, after pre-show you can enjoy the show. So I was like, oh, okay, so it's just this, the first match, and then that's it. I get to sit behind the announcers and then enjoy the show. In the back of my mind, I was hoping they would bring me back, but because I did love the experience, and I think they were also trying to see how I would do. Because when we did the rehearsal, I was in the middle of the ring and no one was there, right? And then, here comes the pre-show, and then there's people and all that. And I think they were trying to see how I would do when there's actually people around, the arena, and then I'm doing my thing in the middle of the ring. And yeah, I wish they brought me back for something, but like you said, not yet.
You're on the radar though. Please, they still have your number on that old Rolodex, and if you don't know what a Rolodex is, look it up.
Okay.
You know what a Rolodex is, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
Yeah,
I was gonna say, yeah, I'm not dating you or anything, but you're savvy or suave or whatever. Yeah, you know what a Rolodex is. Yeah, like my 16-year-old son, no clue whatsoever. So you enjoyed the rest of the show, and then like you go back to your hotel, and I don't want to say they ship you home, but they ship you home the next day, and then see you later.
Yeah, that's about it. I got back home and went to a friend's birthday party after that, who actually I pranked him because he was one of the guys that I said, "Hey, make sure you stay at your seat because we're gonna find you." La la la. And, so when we showed up to his birthday, he was just like freaking out, and he's like, "You pranked me, and that was the best prank ever."
That's
And I was like, yeah, because I couldn't tell people. I couldn't tell anyone. And the thing is, I think I was more focused on getting the job done than like telling people, oh my God, I won this thing. There's that excitement too. I remember crying when I found out that I had won the contest. But to me, it was like, okay, I won the contest. Now I get the job done. It was like such like a mission for me to get this job done. But yeah, after I got shipped home, no, nothing else after that.
Still, it's a win in my book. It's definitely. I mean, legitimately, yes, it is a win. But to announce, SummerSlam, that's awesome. Let's pause there for a minute and then kind of like do the rewind. We'll come back to that. We'll just come back to that in a minute.
Okay.
Who first showed you or said, hey, Raine, you have to watch professional wrestling because you're going to fall in love with it? Mom, Dad, Uncle Joe, Aunt Jean, who was it?
I was at home, and this was still back in the Philippines. I was born and raised in the Philippines. I moved here when I was 18, and I just remember, being at home. I sprained my ankle and flipping through the channels, looking for some English programming because I wanted to kind of practice listening to English. And I see John Cena, and I was like, okay, what is this guy doing? And then
First off, how did you see John Cena? Because, I'm sorry, I had to get the joke in. Go ahead.
That is true. So it might not be John Cena that I saw. But yeah, I remember seeing him. I can't remember who he was wrestling at that time. I want to say it was Viscera, but I can't remember. But it was Monday Night Raw. And I just remember watching it over and over again because in the Philippines, they would have Raw and SmackDown. And at that time, they had WWE Heat, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, they had that on reruns too. So I just found myself watching it over and over again. And at that time, I believed it was real. And then my grandpa was like, it's not real, right? And I was like, what? No, that can't be right. And da da da. And then, but instead of getting turned off, by it not being real, that's when I fell in love more about wrestling. Because to me, it's like, oh God, so this is not real, but then somehow it's getting real emotions from me. I was mad or happy. And, I really thought it was so cool as to how they made everything look real, even though it's not technically real. But yeah, so it was basically, flipping through the channels and then,
So John Cena is, which he encapsulates a lot of people, grabs a lot of people. He's the first person that grabbed you. Who did you go on to like then afterwards?
Oh God, John Cena and Batista.
Wow.
Batista, mostly because
That's huge. Yeah, those are two greats.
Yeah, and honestly, the same year that I started watching wrestling, there was this contest in the Philippines, and it was like because SmackDown had a tour and they were going to the Philippines, and what did I do? I joined a contest because the contest was like a meet and greet, to meet Batista, and so they asked everyone to like submit questions, and if they pick your question, you get to ask that question to Batista yourself, and of course. I set I think 20 questions.
Of course, that's Raine.
Because I was like, you know what? It's free to send this question in. I'm gonna take my chance. So I said as many questions as I can. I think they picked either my first or my third question. But I won that contest. There's I think 5 or 6 of us who won the contest, and we got to meet Batista.
Oh, so you've been on WWE's radar for longer than you're letting know now. See, these are the stories. You little rascal, these are the stories to get out. Okay.
I mean, you can find my video on YouTube. I had braces on. I look like this tiny kid and just asking Batista, what was his favorite tattoo, I believe. Yeah, that was the question I asked him. And then fast forward to the year after that, I ended up moving to the States, and I went to Mr. Olympia bodybuilding convention in Las Vegas because I first moved to Las Vegas. And I remember meeting Batista again, and I was like, "Hi, do you remember me?" And in my head, why did you ask that stupid question? Like, why would he remember you? And of course he says, "Oh no, I'm so sorry." And then because I brought our picture from the Philippines,
Of course
I
you
was
did.
just determined to like remind him who I was. Like he cared. Uh, and then he's like, "No, I'm so sorry." And then I was just like, "Okay, it's fine. Like, just sign my picture, thanks." And then the year after that, anyway, the same thing, Mr. Olympia convention, and I went back to it. Met John Cena again and Batista. And I remember I was walking up to Batista, and he's like, "I remember you." And I was just like, "Oh my God, this is crazy. He remembered me." And then, yeah, that was my probably one of the best Mark moments that I've ever had.
Clearly. You can still hear it in you, Raine. I'm sorry. You can still really hear that in you, that you're like, yeah, I asked him about his tattoo when I was little, and he forgot me, but then he remembered me.
So yeah, John Cena and Batista. I mean, have our pictures, hanging here in my office. But yeah, I love those two.
So you talked about, you want to be in wrestling. You want to be a wrestler, and you're, I'm saying this nicely, you're little. You're a little girl. So I understand the whole thing of like, you realize that you may not be in the ring with Charlotte or Becky or, somebody like that. So you transitioned. When did all that come about?
When I first moved to the States, I was like, okay, I love wrestling. How do I get to be a part of this? Right. And then in Vegas, they had, I believe it was Future Stars of Wrestling. And I think they had like a wrestling school. And I remember inquiring and all that. And I was trying to like train at the gym first before I, sign up at the wrestling school. And I would usually pass out at the gym. And then I, realized that I found out that I have low blood sugar. So it's like, okay, apparently when I do, high intensity workouts, like, my body burns like the sugar right away. And then next thing I know, I'm like, just like on the floor, like passed out.
Dead.
I was like, okay, obviously I can't be doing something athletic like that. So what do I do? And then, in my head, I was like, I guess, I don't know. I don't know if I belong in this world. And I got into television production. And I figured, you know what? I'm just going to keep, sending my resume to WWE. Maybe I can at least like work backstage. Nothing happened. And then, for the longest time, God, I think for like 10 years, I was just like, kind of like, thinking in my head, what could have been? What could have been if I pursued it? What could have been if I found an avenue or found a way to get in and all that? And like the dream just never left me. It was just always in my heart whenever I see wrestling. Even the time that I stopped watching wrestling, every time I see something about WWE, it's like, there's something in my heart that tells me, you know what? You love this.
Yep.
But, I just couldn't figure out to get there. And when I started watching wrestling again, I remember seeing Asuka, and I just love her character. And I was like, man. And at that time, I think Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman were doing their stint too. So I was like, man, Paul Heyman is really good for Brock Lesnar. And then I see Asuka, and I was like, wait a minute. What if Asuka has someone like Paul Heyman?
Yeah.
And
I still say that, by the way. Yes.
yeah.
I love
And then I
Asuka,
was
but
like,
yes.
you know what? Maybe I can be a wrestling manager. Maybe I can speak for Asuka. Maybe I can be a spokesperson for Asuka. And then I created my videos of myself as a heel manager for Asuka. And I submitted that to WWE, didn't hear anything back. few months later, I see Paige come out as the manager for the Kabuki Warriors. So I was like, well, there goes my attempt to become Asuka's manager.
Thanks for stealing my stuff, Vince. Yep.
But in my head, I was like, well, who's gonna watch my heel manager promos for Asuka? Like, I don't know if this is really a good idea, but sometimes people stumble upon your videos on YouTube and have gotten comments of how they like my character as a heel manager. And I was like, okay, well, I guess some people watch my stuff. And then from there I figured, okay, what else can I do? And then I started kind of doing some wrestling reviews or pay-per-view reviews on my YouTube channel. And then when the pandemic happened, I got to sign up at Santino Brothers Wrestling here in Southern California because I've always wanted to sign up there, and it just never worked with my schedule. And it was kind of a blessing in disguise that the pandemic happened, because they created this online wrestling 101 program. And I joined the class and I told them, I'm not a wrestler. I'm not trying to be a wrestler. I want to be a manager. And so we were doing promos and all that. And so I started networking from that point. And Kid Bandit was in that class. So Kid Bandit, he's basically like an indie wrestler, and I think he was on the Nightmare Factory, I believe.
Yeah, he was. Yep.
Yeah. And he was the one who introduced me to my very first promoter. And I told my promoter, I was like, hey, these are my heel manager promos for Asuka. And he's like, well, I don't have a spot for you as a manager, but I have a spot for you as a reporter. And then I was just like, you know what? Sure, I'll do it. And I was just always like that. Whatever it is that I can do in the wrestling world, I just wanted to be a part of it. I was willing to do behind the scenes stuff. I was willing to do, the reporter stuff. And then, I was down to do the ring announcing, and, and I'm hoping that someday I could be a personal ring announcer and manager for someone.
It's getting your foot in the door. I strongly believe, because wrestling's hard to get into. There's a million schools out there. There's a trillion wrestlers out there. But to get there that we're speaking of, you have to be at the bottom of the level and continue just to work and work and work, right? That it's all about the time, the passion, and the heart, and the love, desire, every word that you want to say that's, repetitive. It's what it's about. You have to show essentially your worth, that you're just not going to be, hey, I'm here for a month to do this. I'm done. They don't want to invest in you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree, because it's like, you got to pay your dues, whether it means going to somewhere, like my first, I got gigs before and I was never paid. Like, I would drive far to these events and I wouldn't get anything. And, it's like you spend your own money. I remember my wrestling coach mentioned in our class that, wrestling is an expensive hobby.
Yeah, it is.
Which is true.
Even on this end, it's an expensive hobby. Yes.
Yeah, because it's like, sometimes you get a thank you and, you don't get anything at all after, you buy all your gear and all that. You spend your gas money to go to an event and all that. So it is definitely an expensive hobby. But, I've always believed that in life, there's always that one thing or two that we're going to be passionate about.
Agreed.
And, whether it is, I guess like for us, wrestling or sports or whatever, whatever it is that you're passionate about, you spend your time, you spend your money on it because you think it's worth it. Right. And
Agreed.
if it's something that, fulfills my heart and makes it feel like, what, I have a purpose in this scene, and why not do it?
Yeah, we talked a little bit before the show how this podcast came about. And for a while that was just filling us talking wrestling, thinking it was something, and now we've transitioned into something that, is really cool. That we have a lot of indie stars come on and legends come on, and now Yeah, there's people that like tag us, and I know it. Okay, whatever. We're there. We're cool. It feels good. Now I just want the next level, just like you. You sniff that success. Now you want the next level, and you want the next level. You just keep pushing.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, and in my head, it's like, if you don't take that first step, right? Because there's always that shadow of doubt that, okay, well, what am I going to, get from this thing anyway, right? But it's like, until you take that first step, you'll never know. And for me, I'd rather, die knowing that I tried. Whatever the result might be, I know at least I tried, and I answered the question for myself. I would never wonder what could have been.
If you don't ask a question, the answer is always no, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So how much wrestling do you watch today? And I clearly you're still a huge WWE fan, because if you follow in your socials, and we'll tell you what our socials are at the end of the show like we always do. How much do you watch? Is it just WWE? Do you transition to AEW, Impact? I know you're busy with, indie stuff. How much is engulfed into your life? Because you're also a busy human in the world as well.
Yeah. So as in terms of like watching wrestling, I mostly keep up with WWE stuff. Like I, watch it as much as I can every week, and the pay-per-views as well. With AEW, I catch it every now and then. I do follow a lot of like wrestling promotions on social media, like AEW, Impact, and all that, to kind of like at least like kind of know what's going on.
The hot topics. Yep.
Yeah. Or if there's any like match that I really need to see. But for the most part, like I get to watch like WWE every week.
And what you said, Santana Brothers, what is that your essentially air quotes home base for your announcing?
No. Actually, for me, I don't really have a home base right now. I used to, but because of my work schedule, now I'm basically announcing at any show that can book me on Sundays. Because I work Friday nights and Saturday nights. So for now, I'm kind of doing Sunday shows, and sometimes it's like Lucha Libre shows, and sometimes just like random shows here in Southern California. So yeah, as far as a home base, I wish I do, because I like to develop my character.
Right.
I don't want to just be like, like that ring announcer for, the day. I want to develop my character. So I'm hoping that somehow, somewhere out there, I'll get like a steady, or like a home base, as a ring announcer, and maybe I could flourish into a different character.
Do we have one in mind? Don't give it away, but do you have one in mind?
I just want to be a manager for someone.
You really, you're stuck on, with the pipes that you have. You're stuck on that man. I don't mean it mean. You're stuck on the manager. You want to take the shot to the head because you're bad and you're mean and you're nasty, right?
People find it hard to believe that I can be mean, but I think I can be mean as a character, not like in real life. Like in real life, I don't like getting mad. I usually, when I'm mad, I don't say anything. I'm just quiet. But I do enjoy being a heel manager. I think it's like I feel more comfortable playing that role, because if I remember, at Santino Brothers, we were trying to cut a babyface promo, and I sucked at it. Did not do well. You would think I would do well at a babyface promo.
Heels are so, I don't want to say easy, because trust me, I know. I've seen some people struggle trying to develop their character. It's not easy, but a heel has the fans at the palm of their hands. You come out and you see somebody wearing a Bart Simpson shirt, you are clearly ripping on that boy or girl or whatever. You can pinpoint people and make fun of them because that's your persona. So a face is harder to get over, because you're like, oh man, I really love Bart Simpson too. You're like, oh, this guy's a dork or something, right?
And the thing is, it's like when I try to do a babyface promo, I feel like I'm just being myself.
Yeah.
Like, so that kind of makes me feel shy because now at that point it's like, okay, now you just like see Raine, and like now I get shy and like, oh no, they're looking at me. Whereas if I do like a heel promo, it's like, okay, that's not me. Like I even watch my promos back and I'm like, I don't know you. Who are you?
You are mean. Who do you in your heel promos, who do you take some of your kind of like tape study from? Like Bobby the Brain, Mr. Fuji, Jimmy Hart, Sensational Sherry?
Oh, Paul Heyman and Charlotte Flair.
Oh, okay. So we're
like,
you're kind of very relevant to today's day and age. You don't trickle way back then.
No, because like when I started watching wrestling, it was already in like 2000. So, like the old wrestling, I would watch it every now and then. Like if I'm watching like, how like when they do documentaries on WWE Network.
Yeah, A&E, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, for the most part, in terms of like being a heel manager and in terms of cutting heel promos, I watch a lot of Paul Heyman and Charlotte Flair. Like even when I go to live events, I would record Paul Heyman talking.
Throw some Bobby Heenan in there too. If you when you get there, I'm not saying if, when you get there, you just need a little bit of a twist. He's very psychological and probably on Can Crushers our favorite manager of all time. Just yeah. All right, let's talk about the announcing gig then. So you transition into you're not going to be a manager, you're going to be an announcer. Who do you take from then? Clearly you love Mike Rome, but I hear, and I know you're WWE, you do trickle over. I hear a lot of Justin Roberts in you, though. I really do. You get a little bit of Michael Buffer from like UFC. Who is your go-to announcer that, because it's wrestling, you steal styles and you make them your own? Who did you borrow from, essentially?
Lillian Garcia, for sure.
Okay.
Because when I started watching wrestling and, going back to your question earlier, like the role that I wanted to be in the wrestling, the role I wanted to play in the wrestling business, I remember seeing Lillian and I was like, man, like I love how she commands the ring and like how she, like I love her voice. And I was like, man, I wish I could do that. And I don't have that kind of voice. And, when I first started watching wrestling, it was her doing the announcing. And so I really loved her presence, her stage presence. And just like the way she announced everything was very clear. And you listen to her when she starts.
You hear, well, first of all, are you going to start singing the national anthem then before every show as well?
That's a different story.
Okay.
I can sing, but I don't know. I've never attempted to sing the national anthem. I think I'm too shy to do that. I mean, I will try.
See, that WWE, that's your next thing that you need Raine for. She's going to sing the national anthem to WrestleMania next year.
Yeah, it's going to be here in California anyway. Why not?
See, Raine Mania. Start it. That's the hashtag.
Raine Mania. I love that.
Good. You better use that later on tonight. Besides SummerSlam, because clearly I might be speaking for you, that's up number one. Tell us about some of your other favorite, there's other announcing gigs. Even when you brought up, 25, 50 people, there's still some cool moments that happen. So let's talk about some of those that you have in the back of your head.
Oh, God. Cool moments that have happened. The first thing I can think of is basically the first time I ever announced. I remember the stupid microphone was not working.
That's independent though, right? Sorry. Yeah.
So I was like, damn it. Why did I even agree or volunteer to do this? Now this mic is not working and I'm in front of these people. And there's this guy with a megaphone telling me, turn on your microphone. I was like, of course, trying to turn on my microphone. I was like, oh my God, it's not working. And then finally the promoter walks in, goes into the ring and he fixes the microphone and he's like, you guys be nice to her. She drove 4 hours to be here.
He had your back at least.
Yeah. But that moment taught me a lot of lesson, because I remember that kind of like weird moment of like, oh God, why am I here? Why am I doing this? You know, I remember thinking in my head, you know what? I'm in the ring. They're looking at me. You know, either I make a fool out of myself, or I just kind of, you know, pick it up and, you know, kind of go from here and show them that, you know what? Yeah, cool. I have mic issues, but guess what? Hey, I can do this.
Yeah, so did Lillian Garcia. So did, you know, Justin Roberts. So did Mean Gene Okerlund, essentially. They've all had them. It's technology. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's really good.
Yeah. And then fast forward to, you know, doing like other indie events, and I've gone to ones where I've actually done one with Rikishi's promotion
Okay.
in Southern California for Knox Pro Entertainment. In my very first show with them, they gave me an IFB, an earpiece, and I was like, oh no, I've never worn one of these before. So I could actually hear you know, someone telling me, all right, you know, time to announce this, time to announce that. And it's like trying to listen to someone telling you something while you're talking. It's like, I can't really hear what you're telling me, but then I have to talk, and it's like, okay, like I don't know if I look weird that I'm trying to listen to something right now and people are staring at me, but you know what? I'm gonna look straight at the camera and, you know, act like I know what I'm doing, because I know what I'm doing.
You do. In college, going for communications, I was always told, fake it till you make it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, because the moment that you kind of show that, oh God, something is wrong,
You're done.
then yeah, you're done. That's when the audience will know, oh God, something is wrong. Like my last event, I kid you not, I totally forgot the name of the guy that I'm announcing. And I've worked with him before. And I knew all of his nicknames. So I was like buying myself time, announcing all the nicknames that I can remember. And I was like, so finally, I was like, okay, the worst thing I could do is ask him, what is your name? So I announced all of his nicknames, right? And he was trying to like shake the ring ropes and all that. And then I was like, say it with me. And he gives me his name. He's like, Inferno. And I was like, Inferno. So I made like this whole like shake out of it, you know, even though in my head I was panicking, like, darn it.
And nobody knew.
No, because like I remember asking my husband, I was like, did you see that, that I messed up? And he's like, when?
There you go.
I asked her friend, that it was his first, indie show. And I was like, did you see how, like, I messed up there? He's like, when? I was like, oh, okay.
We're harder on ourselves.
Yeah. And then I watched the video again and I was like, you know what? It wasn't really bad as I thought it would be. But at the moment, I remember, God, just like figure it out. I don't know. Just think of something, but do not ask him what his name is, because that would tell everyone in the room that you forgot his name.
You know every nickname, but his real ring name, what? What's your name?
I know. And I was like, even his Instagram handle, I even announced it.
Really? You were digging that deep? That's awesome. That's commitment.
And I could probably announce his social security number, but I forgot his ring name. For some reason, I had like, a mental block at that moment. And I just kind of like forgot. And I felt really bad. And he's like, it was very creative of you to do what you did.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say that's one of the cool things that I've done, because one of those things I had to like really think on the spot, what to do, how to kind of like make it look like there's nothing wrong.
That's a great cover up. I may have to use that just in radio if I forget who my guest is. Just keep rambling stuff. Here's her email. Oh yeah, her email's her name.
Yeah, and then like just be like, say it with me, and then hand them the microphone.
That's great. God, I'm gonna get punched tomorrow when I do this. By the way, a little deeper question, if you don't mind. I know we said roughly an hour. Are you all right?
Oh, God, I can keep going.
Good. Yeah, That's a girl. I love this. Wrestling has some stigmatisms, and this is like the toughest one I ever ask, and I never tell anybody about it. They have some stigmatisms. We all know them. If you could change one, a lot need change, but if you could change one, what is the biggest thing in your eyes that needs still changed in wrestling?
That needs to be changed. The one thing that I have in my head right now is probably how, and I don't know how I can say this without offending people, but I love WWE. I love how to entertain people and all that, but sometimes I kind of feel bad when they bring up talent who are not like from the indies. And I'm not saying those people didn't pay their dues as well, but I feel like there's people who actually love wrestling.
Yep.
To the core.
I know exactly what you mean. I'll say it. You grab a professional football player and you make him a star right off the bat. Raine did not say that. Mark did. So don't throw hate at her. But yes, you're grabbing somebody that didn't pay their dues for. I don't care if it's 2 years or 3 years or whatever, because everybody's essentially always paying their dues in wrestling. So, if you can ask John Cena, your best friend, he would probably say the same thing, that he's always going to pay a due or whatever. But just to grab a professional football player that is retired and throw him into PC for 2 weeks and now you're a superstar. No. Sorry, I just stole your thunder, but that's one of my biggest beefs. So, yes.
You probably said it better than I did, but yeah, that's kind of like the thing that I want to change, or I guess maybe we can lessen that, because I feel like some people are entertaining, in the wrestling world, because at the end of the day, it's sports entertainment. But I do not want to lose, that ray of hope for people who are paying their dues in the indies, for people who are getting paid with like hot dogs and just the handshake, because this is their dream. This is our dream. We want to make it to that stage, that ring. And I feel like, sometimes the spots get taken away from people who have been paying their dues and who really, really love wrestling.
Agreed. This isn't written down, but you brought him up enough, so I feel it's okay. Husband, a huge supporter of you doing all your shenanigans in wrestling.
I would drag him to shows. I used to drag him to every show, and then I kind of felt bad because he's not really a wrestling fan. He watches like UFC and but he would watch like wrestling every now and then with me, but for the most part I would drag him to basically be my camera guy and hold my purse at SummerSlam. But
he's a good guy. If he's holding your purse, he's a good guy.
Poor thing. But yeah, he, I drag him to, shows every now and then. Before I used to drag him all the time, but now I'm like, you know what? Okay, this day, I really need you to take a video for me. You need to go. Okay, cool. This one, you can skip this. It's okay. Fine, I'll find somebody else. But yeah, he's done like the long drives with me because I live far from, I'm like an hour away from Los Angeles, which is where most of the shows that I do are held at. And so usually I have him drive going to the event, and then on the way back, I, drive us back. So sometimes if I just want like a,
companion. Yeah.
Yeah. To kind of help me out, with the drive, and, I'll bring him, and, he gets to be my camera guy, purse guy. And you know what?
Pop and soda guy and popcorn guy. Yeah.
He did enjoy his time backstage, and because he recognized, I think he did watch wrestling before, but he doesn't watch it now, kind of like the way I do. But he recognizes some of the people, and he did recognize Goldberg when we were backstage, Bobby Lashley. When I was doing my rehearsal, AJ Styles walked up to him, and I think he knew who AJ Styles was. And I remember looking for him after my rehearsal. I was like, where is he? Where is he? And then I see him talking to AJ Styles. And I was like, hold up. This guy doesn't even watch wrestling. And now I'm friends with AJ Styles?
Now you're mad at him.
Yeah. Because they were joking. Like, I could see they were laughing. So I was like, oh, God, now they're friends? What's going on here?
Yeah, after AJ's match, he was going to have a beer with your husband, and you just had to sit at ringside the rest of the night.
Yeah. And then, you know, it's just funny as to how, you know, he was just kind of like this guy that's like, okay, I don't know what's going on, but she dragged me here. But, you know, oh, now I'm talking to this dude, which happens to be AJ Styles. And but he enjoyed it.
I'm glad you brought back. I have like wrap up SummerSlam, and then I have a couple more questions. So did you get to meet, you essentially answered that. You got to meet a lot of the stars from SummerSlam. They all came up, congratulated you, gave you high fives, or they were just like, oh, who's this weirdo here tonight?
AJ Styles actually asked my husband who I was. Okay. Because he's like, I guess he noticed that, you know, there's like people, because there was a like a camera crew following me. Yeah. They were trying to document like, you know, my day as the winner. And then so you know, I was like wearing my like glittery shoes, my glittery like jacket and all that. So he actually asked him like, who was that girl? And then, you know, my husband's like, oh, that's Ringside Raine. And he's like, oh, wait a minute. No, that's my wife.
Didn't you see her on TikTok for the last 5 hours? No.
But yeah, I got to meet you know, a lot of superstars and legends. And I remember after I did my rehearsal, I, you know, got out of the ring, and then here comes, because everyone was wearing a mask still. So the first person who walked up to me after my rehearsal was Molly Holly. And I couldn't tell who she was at first, but she was just like, hey, you know, I'm Nora, congratulations. And I was like, Nora. And I was like, that's Molly Holly. And then she pulls her mask down and she's like, Molly Holly. And I was like, of course you are Molly Holly. Oh my God, thank you so much. I'm just glad I was wearing my mask because I was just smiling.
You were marking out?
Yeah. Like I could not hide that smile. And if it wasn't for my mask, they would know already, oh my God, she is such a mark. Because like I was able to just like compose myself and be like, all right, cool, Drew McIntyre, nice to meet you, sir. Street Profits, nice to meet you, thank you. And they're like, congratulations, oh, thank you so much, and all that. And you know, but like, you know, when I met Molly Holly, I was like, oh my God, she's telling me I did a great job, and this is Molly Holly, oh my God. And then right after that, Beth Phoenix walked up to me, and then she's like, oh, congratulations, you did a great job, and la la la. And she's like, I'm Beth. And I was just staring at her. She was wearing her glasses, you know, and then she had her mask on. And I was like, Beth, why is my coworker Beth here? I didn't know she was. And I think she saw the confused look on my face, and she's like pulls her mask down. She's like, Beth Phoenix. And I was like, oh God, oh my God, Beth Phoenix. This is awesome. And then like backstage, you know, you got to meet more people. And then one of the coolest you know, I guess experience was, even though I didn't get to take pictures, you know, it's something that I would remember forever, as cheesy as, you know, that might sound. No. You know, because the experience was amazing. It's like, you know, you get to meet these people, and you know, some of them are like, hi and bye, congratulations. And there were some who like walked right past me and they congratulated me, like Dewdrop, she did that. And I remember, I think this was before the actual pre-show. Yeah, it was after the rehearsal, but before the pre-show. We went back to catering, and we sat down and we saw Liv, and she was by herself. And my husband and I were like, oh, let's just, you know, because that was like the only table with, you know, that's kind of available. So we're like, we sat with her, and then she was actually about to leave, but when we sat down, she stayed with us and she like talked to us. And she didn't have to do that.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, but she like decided to sit down and like chat with us, and she was like, "You were that girl outside, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I won this like contest." And she's like, "Oh, congratulations!" And she's like, do you sing?" And I was like, "Well, I sing at like a church choir, but I don't really like sing professionally." And she's like, "Well, that's amazing," and this and that. And I told her about her documentary, how much I love it. And I remember telling her, I said, "I think you will be a champion soon." And then she's like, "You think so?" And I said, "I really think so. I think your time will come soon." And I love that she became champion in Las Vegas, because that's where we had this conversation.
And that's where you were supposed to be.
Yeah. I know. I was really bummed when she won. I was like, "God darn it." I wish we were there to kind of celebrate, for her. But yeah, like she sat down and like chatted with us, and I just thought it was like a really nice gesture for her to, because we're basically strangers, we're
outsiders essentially, not the NWO outsiders, but outsiders. Yeah.
Yeah, and she sat with us and like talked to us, and so I thought that was really nice, and but yeah, and then during the show for Edge versus Seth Rollins, there was an empty seat right next to me, and then there was this lady who sat right next to me, and I was like, "Oh my God, security's gonna kick her out," because I don't know if she's supposed to be sitting here, because there was another guy who was trying to like sit in the front row, and he wasn't supposed to be there, so security was like kicking him out, and I was like, "Oh my God," and then she waves at me, and then I was like, "Oh, wait a minute, oh, it's Beth." So for
Oh, my buddy Beth.
Yeah, for that match with Edge versus Seth Rollins, like I was actually watching it with her, and I remember in my head I was like, okay, they said pictures backstage, but we're now in like out here in the arena. Will that count? And then but I realized, you know what, she's out here watching her husband's match, kind of like low key, right? Because she was wearing her mask, her glasses on. No one really, I don't know if a lot of people could tell it was her. And I was like, you know what? I would hate to like ask for her picture, and then people are going to know it's her, and then people are going to keep bugging her to have pictures with her, when all she wants is to like enjoy, watching her husband wrestle.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? It's cool. Like, it's fine. Like, she's very nice to me. I'll just remember that forever. And then next thing I know, apparently WWE was following her and took pictures of her, and they posted it on, I think either on Twitter or on WWE.com. And you could see Beth, watching, the match right next to me. So I was like, oh, I somehow still got my picture with her.
It all worked. Again, remember how I said sometimes we fall in poop when we come out smelling like roses?
Yeah.
There you are again, Raine. There you are again.
Yeah, so it still worked out, yeah, it's just really cool as to how, people, like the superstars that I met, and like the announcers that I met, they're really cool to me. I didn't feel, what's that word, like starstruck, I guess. I mean, kind of, but at the same time, to me, I think it was just like I was basically in disbelief that I was there. I mean, I just did not think it was real.
But you knew you belong there.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, because like I remember meeting Triple H too, and then he's like, just have fun. Don't be nervous. Just have fun, because that's what we do here. We're just having fun.
That's awesome.
And that's exactly what I did. And yeah, like I said, like a year after that, I still can't believe it happened.
Well, yeah. Again, essentially reading my notes. What's the goals for the rest of this year in professional wrestling for you? And then maybe the 5 out, because I always ask this year and then 5 out. 5 out would be to have that contract that we always talk about, I'm sure. But what about this year?
This year, my goal is to do as many shows as I can. Granted, it's. I wish this is actually my full-time job, and I could just do this over and over again as my full-time job. But
I hear you there. Yeah,
there is Ringside Raine, and there is Rain Crew is the person who has to work, and so the person who's busy with like real life. But yeah, so the goal is to do as many shows as I can, and also I'm in search for that promotion who would give me the opportunity to become a manager. Actually, at Knox Pro, they have they started what is this thing called? Oh, the Effin' Warriors Wrestling, which is basically women's wrestling. They started that show, and the last time I was there, they used me as a commentator. That was my first time commentating, and I actually loved it too. So it's just basically exploring the other things I could do aside from ring announcing.
I'll give you a name that maybe you should reach out to. Jenny Santana, UWW in Vegas. All girls. They just had their second pay-per-view. They have like Big Swole. Eva Lise is there. Diamante was there. Yeah. I could see you trucking down to Vegas once a month or so to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I can drive from to Vegas from where I live. Yeah. So that's like the goal. It's like because before I was just bouncing between two promotions, right? Because I knew I networked myself and I met these promoters, and I was just bouncing between those two promotions. And it's cool to kind of like go around and see how other promotions work. But like I said earlier, I still want like a home base so I can actually develop my character, because that's the beauty of professional wrestling.
Yep.
It's just kind of like life. You develop your character throughout the year.
In life, yeah.
And that's how professional wrestling is. Like the characters, they develop throughout the years, and either they improve or, they become worse in a good way. But yeah, that's the goal.
These are my last two, I promise, and they're my favorite two. That's why I always save them to the end. What has wrestling brought to your life?
Oh, God.
Yeah. Think.
Wrestling brought so much passion into my life. It's like a love and hate relationship. I love it so much, and then I hate it when I don't get what I want. But, it's definitely, that passion in my heart. It brought that passion in my heart that, to me, like I said, I had this dream like years ago, and I just didn't know how I could make it into the wrestling world. And somehow it just kept bugging me. And then I just knew I had to do something about it and find my way. And that's what wrestling did to my life. Basically, it's the passion. It's making me believe that, the self-doubts that you had, just take that first step and, don't be afraid and, go from there.
And finally, and then I'll let you give your socials and everything else so everybody can follow you if they don't, sell some merch and this, that, and the other. Let's rewind all the way back to the Philippines when you just meet John Cena or whoever you saw on TV that day. Hover above yourself now and look at that little girl. Do you see that you are a superhero now?
Oh, God, a superhero? Oh, God. I love that you relate this to that girl in the Philippines. Because I remember watching it in the Philippines. I would never. I wish I could. And I just knew in my head, it would be impossible for me to step in that ring. And fast forward to, last year, it's like, again, I had proven myself wrong. And, it's amazing as to how, after SummerSlam, I realized, you know what? It wasn't just about me winning the contest. It wasn't just about me proving to myself that, you know what? I can do it. It was about inspiring, a lot of people.
Trillions, millions. Do you realize, I'll cut you off for a second. Do you realize, and I don't have the number or the statistics or anything like that, but how many little girls you inspired that night that had no clue who you are, and now are watching your YouTube stuff of making fun of yourself or whatever, they're wondering where Ringside Raine is. And they that night, you put a spark in some little girl that said, if she can do that, I can. because they didn't know Lillian Garcia. They now refer you to your Lillian Garcia.
That's very nice of you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think that's what I realized, after I had won SummerSlam, because I remember I was getting interviews from like different podcasts, and
you answered them quicker though. No, it's okay.
No, like
I'm kidding.
But yeah, and then I ended up getting interviewed by Philippine media, and apparently back there, they loved my story, because I used to work at a TV station back there, and I just remember, telling my coworkers, hey, I won this contest, and they're like, oh my God, really? So, next thing I know, I'm getting interviewed, and then the story blew up, and then, I would get messages or comments saying, Ate is like a big sister. Ate, like, you inspired me, thank you. And to me, it's just like, man, going back to what you said earlier, that little girl was watching John Cena before, like, I just never thought it would happen. And I felt like if I could be that person that someone could look up to and say, you know what, if she can do it, I can do it too. Because I think what inspired a lot of my countrymen in the Philippines was the fact that I was born and raised there.
Yeah.
And I made it, to a WWE ring. And I felt like it kind of gave them hope that, you know what, it doesn't matter where you came from. If you have that dream, if you have that passion, you do the hard work, it will happen for you, whatever that dream may be.
It will. You just keep plugging through. You keep your heart in that. You said you stepped away for a little bit, but it was still there. That burning, that itch, that desire was still there. So you just flip it back on, and then boom, 2021 WWE contest. Was there a real name to this, by the way? Was it just a WWE announcer contest?
It was a the hashtag WWE announcer contest on TikTok. And oh my God, I did not know how to use TikTok. I had to ask my wrestler friends how to like trim a video on TikTok.
I still am not good on TikTok, by the way. So it's all right.
Yeah, it's too advanced for me. I mean, it's, the cool kids use it. I'm more of like, how the hell do you do this thing?
The two people that have communications or, television degrees cannot figure out TikTok. What are we doing wrong?
Yeah. But that's the name of the contest, WWE Announcer Contest.
It was that simple. All right, this is your time. Website, sell some merch. Do you have stuff out there? What have I missed that you want to bring up real quick? Where are you going to be? Da-da-da-da-da. You know this drill.
Oh, yeah. So you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and on YouTube at Ringside Raine. And that's Raine with an E, Raine. And if you are going to be in the Southern California area on August 14th, I have a show at New Tradition Lucha Libre in Adelanto, California, and at Relentless Pro Wrestling, September 17th in Orange, California. So, yeah, and then for any updates, just follow me on Instagram because I post random stuff there, random ring announcing videos. Sometimes I try to be funny and just post, videos of my dog and my bird. But
in Liv Morgan winning the championship.
Oh, God, yeah. I recorded that after I think my 10th day of isolation, and because my voice sounded terrible, like I had a bad sore throat. I could hardly talk because my throat felt like really bad, and I was actually scared that I couldn't pull that off. I was like, oh my God, can I ring announce again? And I was just like thinking of the worst, right? Can I still do this again? And I recorded that, because I was like, you know what? I love Liv, and this might be like a week late because I couldn't do it. Obviously I was still sick during at Money in the Bank. But I recorded it, and I was like, you know what? Okay, I feel good. I feel like my throat is still kind of scratchy, but you know what? I pulled through. Fake it till you make it.
Right? See? If you learned anything, kids, this week on Can Crusher Spotlight, fake it till you make it.
Yeah, because sometimes, like I said earlier, it's always easy to just doubt yourself. That this is not going to work and I can't do this and all that. And that's easier said than done to just believe that you can do everything right. But the thing is, a lot of people might not believe in you. But the worst thing that you can do for yourself is also not believe in you. So why not just, believe in yourself and, take the first step, and you'll never know where it will take you.
The first step's the hardest one. It really is. Then it's downhill from there, either failing miserably or succeeding.
Yeah, you'll never know unless you try, right?
Right. Raine, I love you. Thank you for coming on the show. This has been a blast. We need to connect and have you come on after a pay-per-view or a streaming live event, as they call them now, and chit-chat about wrestling and what you thought and stuff like that. If you're willing, let's set it up for some time, because I'd love to have you join the other hooligans and see what you say on a recap with us.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want to hear. You're all in, right?
Yes. Awesome. I appreciate that. Oh, my God. I love doing recaps.
Good. We're going to make it happen. Maybe not SummerSlam, because I don't know if we're going to do it, but we'll get one. We'll be in contact for sure.
Yes.
So, all right. I'll let you go. Kept you longer. Thank you for coming on the show. Again, this has been a blast.
Oh God, thank you for having me. And I'm so glad I saw your message, even though it's after you.
Right.
I'm glad I, go through my spam folder every now and then.
Maybe every 6 months from now on.
Yeah.
We're friends though now, so it's okay.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we follow each other now. So yay.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you again.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Ringside Raine. Oh my God, what a great interview. We just talked about wrestling and some of the stories. First of all, I had to make the joke about her seeing John Cena for the first time, because nobody has seen John Cena in forever. And then the Dave Bautista story. Oh my, Raine, I'm sorry. We chatted a little bit after the interview as well, and yeah, I think she's gonna make a photo for Batista when she meets him next time, and actually just give him the photo of when they met the first time. So yeah, and guys, and we have to get that hashtag going, Raine Mania. Get that going so we can get her back in a WWE ring, so we can get her contract, and more to come with Ringside Raine on Can Crushers, because this was a blast. Really appreciate everything. I really appreciate the time that you spent with us. I had fun. Make sure you go out and follow her. Watch her as she continues to progress, in Southern California or wherever she's going to trickle around. Hopefully somebody will fly her to the East Coast so she can do some wrestling over here and I can meet her, and then she'll probably end up punching me in the face, because I think we're going to have that relationship. I do. And her poor husband, he'll have to fly all the way to the East Coast holding a purse. As long as AJ Styles with him, I think it's probably all right. Raine, thank you again. It was awesome. All right, guys, until next week, we'll talk to you here on Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast. For Ringside Raine, I'm Mark the Mark Martinez. Remember, just because you're trash doesn't mean you can't do great things. It's called a garbage can, not a garbage cannot.